Welcome to Camp Chaos, where we celebrate the wild ride of modern womanhood.
Join us as we dish on motherhood, life's ups and downs, and all things pop culture that we know you want to talk about.
With special guests and expert insights, we're here to empower you through the chaos of everyday life.
Consider this your ultimate escape from the hustle and bustle. And as always, parental guidance suggested.
Camp is now in session.
Courtney, our friend, our organizer friend, welcome to Camp Chaos.
Thank you so much for having me.
We are so excited to have you. You have truly helped us relieve some stress and chaos in our life. And so we want to share that experience with everybody. But let's start with what the Organized Haus is.
Yeah, this was like the perfect marriage between Camp Chaos and us solving everyone's chaos. This was like the perfect marriage.
Well, when we went on your website and it said, you have to tell the motto of what it said.
Conquering your chaos.
Conquering your chaos. Yeah. I was like, you know what? I called Taylor. I'm like, it says conquering your chaos. It's perfect.
Okay, so the Organized Haus is a luxury professional organizing company that comes in to structure, to implementing functional spaces for you. So basically, we're just trying to calm your life, make it all easy. Everything has a home and everything has a rhyme or reason. No clutter, no excess inventory, stuff like that. Getting to really know your inventory.
I love when you first came in and talked to us about it, because it was like about systems. And that to me was like, yes, because my systems felt so broken, and most of them in my house still are, other than the ones that you touched. But I feel like for moms, so often are we like stuck to these horrible systems that we just have implemented, and then you get like married to them.
Yep.
And it's so hard to change them because you're like, well, it's kind of working, but it's also driving me nuts. My mom has always said, and I say this like on every episode of like, my mom has always said, but it's true, like that it's not the stress in life, it's the mess in life that will kill you. And literally after like having this space that we're in right now done, I'm like, oh my God, it's so true.
Well, what was so funny when after we left your space or whatever, that's why I text you. I'm like, let your kids play in the playroom.
Yeah.
Like you were like, I'm going to lock the door. It's going to stay. I'm like, no, let them play.
Okay. So for those that are not viewing, that are just listening, if you
turn your YouTube on,
your YouTube on immediately, because we are in my magical playroom, which we will get to. But when you created this company, like what was your mindset? Because you are not a mom yet and you don't have kids yet, but like tell us a little bit about your background and why creating this was so important.
Okay, so I originally owned a clothing boutique for 10 years, and I closed it 2 years ago locally in Orange County. And after you're out of a situation, you start to look back and realize all the mistakes that you did or what you could have done better. And for me, I realized one of my biggest downfalls was not having systems and not being so organized. I went into the business being like, I can pick out great stuff. I can dress the Chapman College girls all day. Like, I'm good at this. I'm good with client facing. The behind the scenes of my business was a shit show. And if somebody ever approached me and was like, hey, like the book work, I'm like, I don't know. Like my organization, and then fast forward, COVID hitting, because I was not organized, it really impacted me. And I realized like the mental health in that if I just created systems and organization and structure, how much easier my whole life would have been with having a business. So then fast forward, and after I closed the business and I was doing other jobs, I'm like, I realized it carries over to every aspect of your life. So my business partner, Nicole, who she is the owner of House of Design and does interiors, she knew that I had closed down the business and everything, and I had some experience in organization. I worked with another company and jumped on board, and oh my God, it was so surreal. I went from closing down a business and being like, what am I going to do with my life, to like getting on planes and flying and organizing, whether it was celebrities, whether it was athletes, like just, it was a whirlwind. And I saw like people were able to live their lives and not have to worry about everything at home, because the home's supposed to be your vacation. It's supposed to be your safe space. It's supposed to be something that you get to relax in.
Yeah, it's your sanctuary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
or it should be, at least.
Which was so funny, because when Nicole approached me, I was literally on a project, like moving. It was a couple that was moving from Tennessee who had lived in their house for 43 years. And the inventory was like nothing I've ever seen before. And she texted me and she's like, hey, we're grabbing a drink tonight. I need to talk to you. I'm like, okay. So we went down to Gracias Madres on 17th Street, and she looked at me, and if you've met Nicole, like she is like to the point and everything. And she was like, we're going to start an organizing business. I'm like, what? And she's like, we're going to start an organizing business. I'm like, no. Like, I'm still trying to figure out organizing my life. And she was like, no, you've got this. We're going to do this. And this became, again, like how I keep saying with us, the perfect marriage. Her and I were the perfect marriage. We went to high school together. We both have launched our own businesses. We've been through the turmoil. We've like learned from our mistakes. And she's like, I have interiors. You know, the organization, like we were like flipping this and we launched it January 1st. And it just like, I didn't know where it was going to go. I'm like, who's going to be our market? Like, obviously Orange County, and I grew up here, so I know a lot of people. But when we got into one of our first clients that we took on who signed up with us, got into his home, he wasn't a hoarder. He wasn't like he just was a single dad with 4 kids who had drop zones everywhere. And he's just...
Okay, explain what a drop zone is.
Drops, like, you're almost like your junk drawer.
Okay.
Like, you know where you open it, it's like batteries,
So
pencils.
basically my house is a drop zone.
Not your
Except
house.
my playroom.
No.
Right?
But that's when we got into majority of people's, that's everybody.
Yeah.
Unless you're somebody who's really OCD and clean, like majority of people have every cabinet, every drawer, it's chaos unless you're really that organized of a person already, which I was not. So this level of like OCD and organization, I have learned, my whole life has changed because of it, literally. And it's been a game changer for me. But with Nicole and I jumping in and our first client that we landed, his house was a drop zone. And it's interesting because you never know if people are going to live in the systems very well or if it's just going to explode after. And he lives in the systems. He now has like canceled subscription because he realized he had 56 bottles of vitamin C. Like he realized his inventory and was able to like boom, bop, bam. Like
it's so much more than just like cleaning up the house, organizing the house, putting things wherever they belong. It's like actually for your mental health too.
Completely.
Yeah, like knowing that like everything has a home, everything has a space.
Completely. And I think that's the disconnect or like the big fat question mark that comes with what we do, because I think I've said it to you guys. A lot of people look at it as like glorified housekeepers. Like we just come in and we help you get rid of stuff and then we tidy it up and we're done. And I'm like, no, there's so much brain power that goes behind what we do, because I can't tell you how many homes we go into that people tried. They're buying the containers to decay your pantry. Like you had the right stuff though. It's just trying to put together the system for that is what's really hard. On top of being a mom, on top of being a wife, on top of work, like it's so funny. Like people will source out landscapers, housekeepers, nannies. People outsource for everything. You're not going to build your own home if you're not a contractor. But for us, people look at it as something that's not necessarily needed.
They look at it like an ultra luxury.
But it's an investment to create systems for your kids. Like the snack drawer that we did in your pantry, I'm obsessed with. The fact that he can open that drawer and grab his own snacks and he's learning where to go get it or where to pick, and then
becoming efficient on
for
his own.
you to open it and realize, oh shit, I like have no snacks left.
Yep.
Versus like scrounging through and trying to pack the diaper bag and run off to the next thing. It's so funny. Lacey, who you guys just had on the podcast, she said to me, because we did her house, and she was like, I was this rushed mother. Like I was like, okay, like let's go. We got to get to dance, this, that, and the other. And she read an article and she read it to me about how that directly affects the kids' anxiety, like for the future. She's like, if I'm always frantic and I'm trying to pack, that instantly goes to the kid with anxiety. And I was like, I didn't even think your husbands. How many times have your husband lost their keys or their wallets?
All the time.
Like
every
if
day.
There was just one spot that they knew right at the door to, just like little things of creating the system.
It's a lifestyle.
Game changer to the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that when we started our conversation and it's like, okay, what is this going to look like? Immediately for me, I had 2 in mind. I was like my pantry, because of like, I'm thinking of my kids first, like not even me. I'm thinking of what are the 2, because they and their happiness and their well-being and their mindset like affects me directly.
Yeah.
So my 2 things were the pantry, because that's where they go to get their snacks. That's where they go to get their, whatever they may need. And the playroom, like it was such a dumpster fire in here. And it was not because I wanted it to be chaotic. It was because it was like little at a time. Like I'm chipping away. It was a guest room. I got rid of the furniture. I bought one piece of furniture. I bought a couple bins.
Yeah.
I got some shelves, but it was like never fully done, that I needed help.
Yeah.
Really, I needed a little fire under my ass, if I'm being honest, because I'm like, I know I want to do it. I just need somebody to be like, okay, we're going.
And something that you said that's so interesting is you instantly went to like your kids first, which I'm not a mom, so I don't know, but it's so funny. That's typical mom, kids first, as long as they're happy, but your happiness carries on to your kids.
Totally.
So as much as you might be doing this and that for them and everything, if you're not fully happy, those kids
feel
are sponges completely.
Yeah.
And so to take care of your well-being first and foremost as something as the pantry or the kitchen or even your closet, even though that might not benefit your kid, you're waking up and shopping your own closet and you feel so good you feel so good when you get to go shopping. Why not shop your own closet?
But and also, Courtney, it's the time saver. Like when for example, this morning, because you have not touched my closet yet, but like this morning I woke up and I'm like calling Taylor last time, like, what are we wearing tomorrow filming? And she's like, God, like but it's the time saver of not having like organized chaos because it is still chaos. Like at the end of the day, we're not going to pretend like it looks like a museum.
And not everything's going to stay color coordinated and alphabetized.
Oh, yes, it will. Oh, yes, it will.
We take it to a huge level, but it's just to show. Like, it's to show you guys, like, it can be done. And one of the things that I love that Nicole and I implemented is the maintenance of it. Like, your kids are going to keep growing up and the toys are going to go, make us the bad guys. Don't be the mom who has to get rid of.
When you left my house, Courtney, you're like, we can come after Christmas. Like, what does Christmas look for you? I'm like, and I immediately was like, shit, I have a birthday between now and then and Christmas, and there's going to be new stuff, and where is it going to go? So it's the maintenance is such a huge thing.
Yeah. And I feel like people probably, when we, put out this episode, it's like organization. What could they possibly talk about with organizing? I think we're hitting on so many of the different ways that it changes your life. And for someone like me, I have been organized my whole life. Like lean more towards the OCD side. My mom always gets mad at me. She's like, relax. Like, it doesn't always have to be perfect. But even for me, I clean out my pantry every year. I redo organization every year.
I will say you were one of the first pantries that didn't have anything expired.
But I was so embarrassed.
You did it.
Only a couple things, but I was so embarrassed to have you come in because I'm like, you are a professional organizer. And by the time, like, this is about the time of year where I start cleaning again. And so when you came in, I'm like, oh God, she's seen it at the very worst. It was better than that. But even someone like me who I feel organized, and the way I did my pantry, I have done it the same, like in terms of where everything goes, but I just restructure it with different things and try to find different ways. You flip-flopped it, turned it upside down. I was like, huh. I would have never thought of this. And it's the systems that you guys know how to do. That, I feel like, for me, is where your expertise came in. It's like, 100%. Okay, it's
not just about dedicating the time and like, okay, I'm going to go to a Container Store or one of these places
or like
and order
on
this.
Instagram
my mind,
and finding it. That's what I do. I'm like, ooh, that looks good. Okay, let me order that, and implement that. But it's like, ooh, that might not work for your space. Like, you guys came in with the measuring tapes, looking at it. This doesn't go there. This goes, like, my chips used to be up there and now they're down here. I'm
Which,
like,
by the way, you have so many chips.
Shut up.
Shut. She has so many chips. I saw this.
Everyone has their
not
thing.
a conversation about Taylor's junk food habits.
So this is your intervention of your chips.
Yeah.
I'm like, those Cheetos, bring them over next time.
Let me go in your pantry.
I know. Well, I love our conversation that we had with you before because I was so mortified of you coming in. I'm like, oh my God. I'm trying to clean things up. And you're like, look, we've seen vibrators. We see, like, I want to talk about like that a little bit.
Yeah,
like, what do you see?
Where you're like the most uncomfortable situation you've been in.
In all honesty, we've been through it all, that nothing phases us. I think, and I feel so awkward telling this story, but it's just too good. And it goes to show the phases of like children growing up. But we did a beautiful home in the Port Streets in Newport. And she had all sons, and one of the boys was like in that phase of puberty and everything and all this kind of stuff. We did his closet, and my poor girl reached up and grabbed like a basket down, and the amount of tissues and towels from a male experience. And I was just like, oh my God. And it's just like, but you just don't think about stuff like that or whatever. And I just was like, oh my, and my girl was like, what are all the tissues? I'm like, we're just going to
throw them away. Just throw them away. But don't even bring them up.
I mean, all day, everybody has it's all the same inventory. Whether you
I don't have that. No, I don't have that. That's not the same inventory in my house.
Not that. No, not that. But I'm saying like vibrators, or whether it be, oh my gosh, we do so many like edibles and weed and blunt, like the amount of blunt bars we've done and stuff.
That's
like,
hilarious.
Just really
I love that.
Yeah, like everybody.
And it's probably the people
that needs to be organized.
It's probably the people that you wouldn't expect, and you're like really getting into such a personal part of their lives.
Or like it's so funny. We've seen like to go on like the vibrator thing, like all the lingerie and everything. I mean, what I've come across, I'm like, I didn't even know this existed.
You go through the
This
sex
is a
drawer.
thing. Completely. But the fact that people allow us to, like, that's what I try to explain to people. This is so personal.
Very intimate.
It's not like an interior designer coming in and picking your wallpaper. Like, we are really, really, really in your stuff. And we understand that. And one of my favorite projects that we ever get to do is with elderly. And why is because it's such a sensitive thing. And I will say this because it's happened every time. If somebody has to move into like a retirement home or somebody's passed away, it is too sensitive for every family member to handle. Like, I always make us the bad guys. Let us come in.
Gosh, it's such an emotional time.
It's so emotional.
Well, like, think about it. Like, when people that could use you, like kids going off to college, extremely
Completely.
emotional. Going through a divorce, extremely emotional.
Completely.
A parent going to an elderly home, extremely emotional.
We did one where the husband lost his wife, and with the kids and everything, and he is at an older age. He's like in his late 70s, and he's like, when I pass, I don't want this to be hectic for my kids. So we did his attic, his like just everything, were like all the photo albums. Every kid has their boxes, all his but I didn't even think of that. He was like, but when I pass, I don't want this to be hell for my kids. I want this to just be like, oh my God, it's all organized. This doesn't need to stay. That like, here's our boxes of our childhood stuff that he can, like, I didn't even think of that. And I was just like, wow, that's
a sweet
brilliant.
Actually a great gift.
Yeah.
Like a great thing to do for your kids,
Completely.
because then it's the responsibility of the kids to deal with all of the
Picking up all the pieces.
Well, and like, you know, even when you came to do my space, I don't know about yours, but I have not like, you know, you are emptying every single,
Everything.
like even the things that got stuck
Everything.
way in the back.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, where did that come
Everything.
from?
Everything.
So you are seeing everything. Let's talk about our spaces and what you
Yeah.
did for us. So I will go first. You did my pantry.
Yep.
And the way my pantry is set up is 2 big cupboards on the outside of my fridge and then one on top. And it's all drawers. And you just created like easy systems, and then you did 2 drawers on my island.
Yeah.
And
yeah, 4 drawers. The coffee side
and the coffee side.
snack
Okay,
side,
we
yeah.
literally switched everything so that the kids could reach snacks. That was the easiest thing that he could reach to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you're like looking at a project like mine, like how do you start to build those systems and create like the structure that you're going to do for a pantry, mine, for example?
You get into people's home and people's inventory really says a lot. Like, you can tell if people are snackers or they're big coffee people or they're, you know, they love to cook, or they're the people who don't cook at all, but yet they have the KitchenAid and they have all the inventory. But why is that right front facing when you open? You know, you just
Right.
kind of, we've been doing this for so long and I've done so many, and Kaneen that you guys met, I mean, the girl's the brains behind this, genuinely. Like, what she creates magic. It's insane. But it's
I feel
really
like
just
it's-
tailoring to the family. And I always say, like, if there's one thing that I learned, when we finish your project and we, you know, pack our bags and we leave you guys in the systems, the one thing I always try to get clients to understand, call us if it's not working. Like, there are 500 million ways to do it. We just did what we thought was best at that time for you guys, but it might not work. So
Yeah,
let
nothing's
us
in
come-
stone.
No, not at all. And they almost think it's like insulting, but it's like, no, you're paying us to do this for you. Like, it needs to match everything that you guys do.
If you've been following me on Instagram, you know I have certainly been in the mood to cook. And that is because I've said it before. I am so inspired to cook during the fall season. I don't know if it's just, you know, the flavors of the season, but I love to cook during this time of year.
HelloFresh delivers all the pre-portioned ingredients you'll need to make easy homemade meals. That means all the proteins, veggies, sauces, spices, and more arrive in your box along with simple instructions. Let me say it again, simple instructions that walk you through each step in the cooking process. Like Taylor said, it's the season where we all like to cook, and as moms, making these cozy meals for your family just feels good. Whether it's the football on or the leaves falling, it's time to make these yummy, delicious fall family meals.
And we want you to try HelloFresh. And you guys, we have an amazing deal for you. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/freecampchaos. Applied across 7 boxes, new subscribers only, varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/freecampchaos. Well, and you guys even stopped halfway, and then we came back and you told me, okay, look at this stuff. Like, is this making sense to you or not? And we sat sat there and changed a lot of things because I'm
lot of
like,
things, yeah.
I don't bake every day.
Yeah.
So move the bread flour up,
also,
you know?
like you're like, I don't need to decant every single thing that comes in here. I don't have time to sit there with every chip pouring it into a container.
Yeah.
Where some are like, I don't want the bags, I don't want the like let's just dump it, have it all lined. You know, everyone's so different.
It was such like a collaborative effort where you were trying to understand my life and like how I live every day and then make it work for me, which was I have followed said system since. It's been couple weeks now.
Yeah, when we went back to shoot, you completely did.
I followed it. The kids snacks is like my favorite.
Good.
My favorite
well,
drawer.
I feel like for that, especially like the kids giving that empowerment and that like kind of Montessori learning of like, I don't have to ask mommy if I need something. Like finding my shoes, I can put my shoes on. I know where my toys go back. Like whatever it is for these little people. Our boys are turning 3. Like they want so badly that independence.
Yep.
I took Zane to the bathroom this morning before going to school, and he's like, "I don't need you to take me." I literally was like, starting
Miller
to cry.
said that to us the
I'm
other
like,
day.
"Excuse me, who the hell do you think you are? Mommy will
He
always
said,
take
"No,
you."
mommy, wait out there." I'm like,
Yeah, I know. But it's like they're so craving this independence. And I feel like having this area where it's like, this is where this goes. I know how to do this. I can go get this myself. It gives them so much back.
You're training the future. Like that's a future husband and stuff like that. So like starting young with like the cleanliness and the organization, everything and putting things back.
That's
like
a future husband.
So
You're
true.
welcome to my future daughter-in-law.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But you know what I mean?
Thank
like,
Courtney.
I mean, I always say like, as we get older, you obviously look back. Like for me, I grew up in a household with not a lot of discipline. So discipline, I like look at things now and I'm like, oh, discipline doesn't need to be a war zone or something bad. I'm like, it's structure. And I'm like, oh, maybe I would have been more organized if I had more structure and discipline.
Oh no,
You know
I fully think that I fully think that kids crave structure
Yes.
and rules, and they want,
Completely.
I'm not saying every kid's the same. I only have 2 of them. But I do think that they want to know, like, where are the boundaries? Where am I allowed to?
Because they're going to test them.
Yeah, I was going to say, even if they want to push them, they still want to know where the line is and
Completely.
that they can be dragged back to the right side of the line. At least I hope
it
so.
helps you guys to create the discipline. Like if Zane's coming in here and all his blocks are everywhere and you're like, you got to put your blocks back. This isn't a frantic room where he's like, okay, I'm just going to throw them in. How many times did you hide stuff in your closet because you didn't want to put away your laundry or, you know, or that chair in the corner? Like,
yes,
it's clear as crystal day. Your blocks go where it says blocks.
Honestly, my favorite room of the house. And I love that you text
I love
messaged
how
me.
on board you were with this. You're like, I'm going to get wallpaper and I'm going to
and
do
a
it
chandelier,
all.
and I'm going to redo my whole playroom. I'm like, Courtney's doing my pantry.
Well, mine was, I think, a little bit unique because we built this house. And it was something that, like, when we designed this, it was a full-on guest room. So after having kids, I designed this house before having kids. I made a floating staircase. I made a lot of things that were very not functional for them that after having Zane, like, get to a year, 18 months, the toys start gathering. All this stuff just gets bigger and more colorful. And it was ruining my living room where I'm like, okay, we need to find a change. And how often do you really have guests? I'm like, we're flipping this to a playroom. So we sold the furniture. And then I'm like, I'm going to order this piece of this little cubby system in the back. I only had one. I have a little mini fridge, but like this day bed, fine. But like it was very minimal and nothing was on the walls. There was no life to it. It was just a bunch of shit in a room. For
a
lack
dump
of a better
zone
term.
almost.
It was a dump
Yeah.
zone. So after that, I'm like, oh, this is going to light a fire under my butt because I've been wanting to do this so badly.
Yeah.
That as soon as you said go, I was like, I'm ordering wallpaper. I'm ordering shelving. I'm ordering chandelier. I'm ordering the pictures that I have so beautifully done by our photographer. And then you came in and you're like, no, you need more of this. You need 16 of these, not 8 of these. You need, like, it was such a collaborative effort.
Oh, completely.
But I will tell you, we did this shit so fast, Courtney.
But that, like,
I think it was literally 10 days from start to finish.
if that.
Yeah, it was fast.
If that, yeah.
And like to the point where I'm like, I have wallpaper. I don't know anyone that hangs it. You're like, here's the person.
Yeah.
Do you need an electrician?
It goes down to it takes a village.
Totally.
And that's like what, like for moms and everything, like I said, something as simple, the landscaping, the housekeep, like all that kind of stuff. It takes a village, and it's truly, it's a gift. Like I always say, like I always joke now where moms are at like doing the registry and everything. I'm like, we need to be on registry.
Totally. Wedding registries.
Postpartum and all this stuff. Like Lacey really explained to me like the postpartum aspect and everything and what we contributed to her household in regards to that. And we go in, I didn't even know she was going through all what she was going through and everything. And when we were done with the project and her reaction, I was like,
Are you okay?
Yeah. She's like, no, this
So moved.
literally changes my life. I will say, and I think I told you guys, the best review I ever got from a client was he had told us, he's like, you gave me back time and there's no price on time. And I was like, wow, that's so true. Like the time you spent, like you said, finding your t-shirt that might have taken 20 minutes, but you're yelling at, whoever to like, I need help, this, that, and the other. But if it was so streamlined and everything, you just gained back that 20 minutes and you lost that argument that you might have had yelling at husband or whoever, you know what I mean? Like that is so, especially as moms, like you just want all the time with your kids and everything. So let us just take care of it. Let us streamline it and everything. Cause it is hard. Like I said, if you're not OCD yourself and stuff like that, it's so hard to put in the systems. I had to learn them. This did not come natural to me at all.
Well, and not being married to certain things, like it's okay to purge. So I think with my playroom, I do want to get into like some tips that you have for moms, because moms either have a playroom or they have a play area or they have a kids room. Like they have somewhere where all the crap is, because with these little lovely children of ours comes so much stuff.
Yeah.
Like they have more square footage in this house than I do. But what I love that you did was like with our bins, it was more than just like, okay, here's the word, because Zane's going under 3. He can't read yet. He needs a picture with them. Like there's all these systems that you put in place that I want to talk about, because I think for other moms it'd be super helpful. So walk us through like what you did in this playroom and what other moms can implement in theirs.
So I think the biggest thing, if you're not having an organized company, you're going to take on the project yourself, decluttering, purging. I say as moms, if you're going to do a playroom, make it fun for the kids. Like we worked on a project where she had the kids involved with what toys were staying and what were going, and teaching them the concept of like other kids need this. And she took them to go donate it was like a team effort and a team project. Like moms take everything on themselves all the time, but you can create systems and stuff like that and make it fun for the kids. So the basic thing, decluttering, purging. You genuinely don't need every single thing that's in your house.
Totally.
And it's very rare with kid stuff. A lot of people nowadays, just because of the trends and the styles, are minimalist. Like a lot of houses that we go into are minimalist now, more so than like our parents' generation.
Right.
I mean, we grew up with how much crap,
chaos,
so much
Where
stuff.
do you think the word Camp Chaos came from? My mother. My mother since I was little.
Just crap.
Yeah.
So much stuff. And everything's digitalized now. Like it's so funny how many people don't have photo albums anymore. Like they're all, it's different. But you don't need all that inventory. So teaching your kids like to not be married so tightly to something, and it's not the end of the world if you have to get rid of it, or you're getting rid of something, but you're helping somebody else as you're getting rid of it, and changing, giving another kid a joy out of the toy that you once had joy out of.
Yeah, huge.
And everything. Yeah.
Well, and it's, I think, unhealthy to have like this attachment and like teaching that at a young age to be so obsessed with stuff. Stuff.
Yep.
We always want more stuff. And there was a whole other thing. Like that was something that fed into it. So obviously we're filming at my house, the podcast, but we've had so much podcast equipment. Like how many, Taylor, thank you, Taylor.
Yeah.
This is a Taylor problem. Like, so you actually did it for us in our home together, Taylor and I. But like having those systems for, we're going to, Taylor and I's, not my children, for pulling out the lighting, pulling out the tripods, pulling out the cameras, the mics, like
knowing where all the batteries are, knowing where all the cords are, the
labels, and like having bins for it.
Yeah.
Before, I mean, this sounds horrible, but I'm like, Taylor's gonna like break up with me because I'm like, I'm not even putting the camera lenses back on, and it's just going in this bag, and we'll see you next week, and it'll go in that pantry.
Yeah.
But like, so having this space where you literally took everything out. So I think for moms listening, don't try to like, put lipstick on a pig.
Yeah.
Take everything out and restart.
Yep.
And throw away half the shit while you're doing it.
What's hard though is finding that time, because how many times have you started, you're like, I'm going to conquer my entire closet, and you pull everything out, and then you're sitting there amongst your clothes. You're like, shit.
And then your kids wake up and you're like, oh, now we got to sleep on our clothes.
That's literally what I do.
Give yourself some grace, but like, you're right. Take your inventory out and just, like you said, don't be married to stuff. Real, like if you have not used it, if you haven't, get rid of it. Literally just get rid of it. But having everything exactly what you need, exactly where it is, and everything is just a day-to-day game changer. Literally.
I also feel like for moms listening, like a playroom is a really approachable place to start. The pantry is a whole different ball game, but the playroom, if you create a system like this where there's bins and you can categorize the toys, like it does make it a lot easier than just like stuffing everything in one box and like shoving it in a cabinet and hoping it closes. I feel like the playroom for someone to do organizing at home themselves is a pretty approachable place to start. The pantry, maybe not so much. That's more of like you need a little bit of expertise from my experience. There's a lot of math. There's a lot of figuring out. Like for you, you were like, the turntables don't work in here. The turntables actually work up there better than, you know, down here. I do want to acknowledge the fact that I think, and I told this to you when you came over to my house, I said, I feel like people think, professional organizers and companies like yours are an ultra luxury, that they don't need it. And it's like only the rich and famous and celebrities use organizers. And it is an investment. Like there is no doubt about that. If you are of this status, can you have it? And I think me experiencing it for the first time, I was like, oh, wow. This really did like change my life. So when you go into a home and someone's like, what is this going to cost me? We don't have to talk numbers, but I think just like, how do you have the conversation of talking about the investment that it's going to be and why it's an important investment?
Because it's hard to understand until you experience it.
Right.
Completely. And I think, and I said this before, the miscommunication on it is really like they think it's glorified housekeeping. Like we just jazz up and clean up and help you. The purging aspect is people's hardest part. Like getting rid of stuff and like that's the hardest part. So like us being there and having it all laid out in front of you and you're just like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no is like a game changer versus you trying to do that all on your own. But going in, you can the best way to put it is like when people want to make a lifestyle change, let's just say to their health, and they're like, I want to lose weight. You're all of a sudden buying healthier foods and that comes with a different expense than the crap food that you were buying and the cheap, you know, all that kind of stuff. This is like big picture investment. And I'm using the word investment because you're right. Like a lot of people with this type of business, it's a sticker shock, but you're almost doing a disservice in regards to trying to go out and do it yourself if you're not that type of person. And that's like my biggest thing is if you're not somebody who's already, you know, OCD type A, like boom, bop, bam, this is going to be, it was so hard for me. Like the amount of money I see people spend on average of getting product and trying to do it themselves, you would have saved all that time, money, and everything just bringing us in and having us implement it in 2 to 3 days. And flipping and be done. And your life is literally changed in that space forever.
And you can move on and stop spending years of trying to do this.
Right.
And so people, I always say like, you're right. If you don't know about this is a foreign language for a lot of people. So start small. Pick that one space that you just cannot grasp. Let us come in, flip it, turn it. And I think you guys are a testament to it. You are like, now I want my whole house, because if everything could be this structured on your day-to-day thing, and that's been majority of our clients, like they get wind of us and they come in, or the best is a pack and move. Because they hire us on the packing end because we do packing like with purpose. Like, I don't know if you guys have moved, but oh my gosh, movers, they don't care so much about your stuff. So it's like all of this is getting dumped. So people will hire us to come in on the back end and unpack all their stuff and then put it all away and basically turnkey. And so people get to experience it with like complete white shell of a home. And then we come in and flip it up.
It's like you literally stage a home.
Completely stage a home, but now your home is completely livable with systems and everything. But the pricing, it all varies. Like it all depends on how much product you're going to need. Like I tell people a lot, kitchen pantries are by far the most expensive. Like they need the most amount of product. And if you guys were to go buy the product, you're spending the same you would spend with us on product. You're just getting the talent behind it that will do this in a quick manner. And so the investment is really into us, the professionals that know how to go in and do this. And like I said, you're not going to design your beautiful home and then become the contractor as well if you've never built a home. If you're not somebody who's lived in places that have you know what I mean? Like,
it's not your area of expertise.
It's not your area, and that's okay, but you have to be willing to see the bigger picture and the investment of what it does, not only for you, but for this case, like your kids and all that kind of stuff, but really for you?
Well, I think what's so shocking too for me, because when we moved into this house, like, and again with no kids, well, I guess we brought Zane into this house when he was just born. Next thing you know, you're like ordering more stuff on Zara. It's like the trends change, trends change, and like things happen. The kids grow up, they need more stuff, and I'm sitting here looking at my life of like, how did I accumulate so much crap in the last 3 years? Duplicates like that for me, like you talked about the vitamins. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like laughing. Oh, 53 vitamin C. I'm like, oh yeah, I may have 51. Like I have so much stuff. And like you waste money when you don't know that you have these certain things.
Completely.
Like that is, I have, when I was cleaning out my pantry when you were here, because I was working with you guys doing this and I'm like, oh, I'm going to like kind of start like purging out my pantry. And I called my husband. I'm like, Gus, we have another mailbox. He's like, we have a what? I'm like, yeah. And it's in our pantry. He's like, why do we have another mailbox? I'm like, I'm not quite sure, but I have a second mailbox. Like,
the amount of money that, and I don't think a lot of people know this, but a lot of money that you spend in 1 year buying the same stuff that you've already bought because you can't find it.
Totally. Wait, what do you mean? Taylor this morning setting up, she goes, oh, you got another camera tripod for your iPhone. I said, oh no, I just because mine broke. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I need to order another one. Yeah. And while I was cleaning out, I said, no, I just found 2 others that I had already bought and that were in boxes.
But you were going to buy another.
I was going to buy a 4th one.
And that's so many people. Like I remember reading, it's like average household is minimum like $3,000 that they're spending on stuff that they've already spent that money on. And
a month or a year?
A year. Okay. A year. Yeah. No, not a month. A year.
I don't know.
But I just was like, give or take some people. But yeah, like you spend so much money replacing the things that you already have, or you're just like ordering, like as if it's doomsday around the corner. And you're like, why do I have 900 paper towels? Because you're like, some are in the garage, some are in the pantry, some are already under the sink in your kitchen. Like they're everywhere. And
I do have a doomsday shelf though, I will say.
I have a doomsday like mentality. I feel like Drew's always like,
called a hoarder.
We don't need more toilet paper. I'm like, no, because Drew is the type where it's like, we need toilet paper. And I'm like, okay, see, if I didn't have the back stock in the garage, then I would be running to Irvine Ranch Market looking for toilet paper for you while you're sitting on the toilet. But what I was going to say is you said that to me of like, oh, but you're going to save so much money on like having to buy stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty organized. I get it. It has helped me so much with grocery shopping because the other day, yesterday, I was like, oh, I need breadcrumbs. And then I'm like, no, you don't.
No, I don't.
I have half a decanter of breadcrumbs for like 3 dinners for the next 3 weeks. So it does help you of just like being able to see it and know where everything is.
So weird you say that because I was
You need breadcrumbs?
No, I don't need breadcrumbs.
Chips?
I mean, honestly, this sounds ridiculous, but it's the whole thing of like you go to Trader Joe's to replace the kale that's like rotting in the freezer, the fridge.
That you never touch.
Yeah, that you never touch. But like, and you know it's there, but it's like even that, the systems of like I order stuff or I order groceries or I go grocery shopping and I come home and I'm unpacking. I'm like, oh, well, there's all that. Like, and then you're having duplicates, if not more, and then you're throwing that stuff out because
groceries is a great example. How much
groceries is an incredible example.
Like that's what helped me so much. I am always, this is like another thing, I'm always buying salad dressing. I don't know why I never think I have salad dressing. You organize it. I have like 8 bottles of salad dressing of the same salad dressing. I'm like, wow. So I'm the problem.
Yes, it's so true though. But I honestly think that it's a mindset shift for moms and for women, anyone. It's not even just moms, but I think with moms, you're more responsible than just yourself and your own mess. You're responsible for your little one's mess. And it's like, they are not, you're teaching them. So I think it hits moms a little bit closer, but it is that mindset shift of like, this is an investment. And even if you are going to do it yourself, fine. But like then you're paying a babysitter to watch your kids for the week or 2 weeks that it's going to take for you to set up these systems. So it's like, where are you going to flex and actually commit to something?
Now, it's so funny where people choose to invest their money in and where they don't. Everything nowadays is instant gratification. The fact that you get groceries same day delivered to your door just by a click of the button on your phone is wild to me. And so for this, I'm like, why stress yourself out trying to do it on your own? Where
and Amazon makes it harder because like when you guys were here, I'm like, oh, I could have this by 3:00 today. So it's like you see something and you're like, oh, I just take 3 of those. And then you have these things that like, they don't really make sense in your pantry. And you're like, well, do I return them? No, I'll just put some stuff in there. It does not fit. My kids, when they pull it out, it falls.
We see it all day.
Yep. That's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
All day.
Let's talk about quickly our favorite products in the pantry and the playroom.
Okay.
Organizational products. Okay, I'm going to say mine that I did not know existed, but the bamboo drawer organizers.
Yeah.
That they put
Game
in.
changer.
So they put it in my shallow drawers, which are on the island. And then in my pantry, when you open the cupboards, there's like 4 big deep drawers.
So they look like built-ins.
So that's what I told
Got it.
Courtney. They
It
look
looks like you
built-ins.
spent the money for built-ins.
But I also look like I am the store.
Yeah.
Like I have, okay, literally, if anybody comes for me with these chips, I'm going to lose my mind. But I have like all the chips go in one row. Then I have all the Skinny Pop popcorn. And like it looks so good without having
It's merchandise. It's like
it's
a store.
literally
Yeah.
like
Which
a
you
store.
spend so much money building your dream home and
I
buying.
never thought of drawer organizers for that space. I was always buying
changers.
pantry bins, turntables, all these things. They are my favorite thing in my shallow drawer. That's how we organize the kids' cabinets. It's like, and you can shift them obviously to fit whatever size you want. So one size fits all of Miller's protein bars. The other one fits all of Palmer's crackers. Like it is my new favorite thing. They come in a pack of 4.
Prime example too of, would you have ever thought to put the snacks in the drawer?
No.
It goes in a pantry.
Yes.
And that's like where we come in. Like
Yes.
we like
Rethink.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Because
Totally.
we're not tied to your stuff.
No, you come
Like,
in with fresh eyes.
Fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Completely.
That's the thing.
We're not staring at what you guys are staring and living in every single day. We
Yeah.
just
Yes.
come in.
Like,
Literally.
well, this is a dumpster fire. This is not working.
Oh, we love junk drawers.
Yeah.
We love junk drawers.
I think my favorite thing was like, I mean, so many. The podcast stuff I think is such a big thing because we use it weekly, and when we do, it gives me so much anxiety.
Yeah.
But every day, all day, you're not giving me anxiety all day. Don't worry,
thank
Taylor. It's the burlap.
This.
Yeah, the
These-
burlap
yeah.
organizers, like, and again, I sound like a broken record for Zane to see, like, that's where this goes. Like, I want to play farmer's market. I'm going to go get my fake little kitchen, my fake food. Like, he knows where all that stuff is. And it was like really inexpensive. And we will link everything. We're making it
yes,
real.
we're
So like,
gonna
we will
link
link all
and-
the,
Like IKEA.
girl, don't sleep on IKEA.
You blew my mind with
I
what
know.
you found at IKEA.
I know.
Oh
I did
my
say to Courtney
gosh.
halfway through, I'm like, so can I come work for you?
Yeah.
Because I need a
No,
job.
you're busy. You're busy and you're booked. You have no time for another job.
but it's like-
yeah, there are like very inexpensive, beautiful pieces.
But
that-
and that's the other thing. Like
Yeah.
I was, I think, a unique where I'm like, I was out there like paving the pavement with
Yeah.
you. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm at IKEA. I'm FaceTiming her. I'm like, what do you think about this?
Yep.
But I do think like you come with this level of expertise of like, okay, let's pay for this because you're going to see it every day. Get this from maybe Pottery Barn or like the Container Store. But like, then we could get this cheaper on Amazon or at IKEA. And like having that little yin and yang, I think was
Completely.
super helpful.
complete and picking your battles of where you're going to spend your money. You don't need to do it for a kid's room. That thing's going to be tossed
Trashed.
around. And your kids are all at the age that like it changes so dramatically monthly. Like what their phases are, what they're loving,
what they're eating,
what they're learning, all that kind of stuff. This whole inventory changes constantly.
Totally.
Constantly.
Okay. So tell everyone where they can find you.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So our website, theorganized.com. And then Instagram is theorganized_house.
and house is spelled.
HAUS.
Courtney, thank you for cleaning up the mess and chaos
my
in our
gosh.
life. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for
So much
trusting
fun.
us. This was so much
Such
fun.
a good marriage. Thanks for tuning in to Camp Chaos. We hope you enjoyed today's episode.
If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our show. Connect with us on social media at Camp Chaos Podcast. Until next time, campers.